What does it take to make it to the C-suite at a company? What might you have in common with people already there? Deloitte Greenhouse Experience Group recently conducted a study of more than 660 C-suite executives and found that 65% of leaders are characterized by 4 types of primary working styles. Christfort is National Managing Director of the group, and she joins us with details. Welcome to you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, so you look at these 4 traits, and 2 working styles account for 2/3 of the samples. First, pioneers and drivers. Can you explain what makes a person a pioneer and a driver?
Yeah, so first of all, it's probably helpful to know that these 4 styles that we found are normally an equal distribution in a business population. So the pioneers are the types that are really about possibility. They want to brainstorm, they're very adaptable, very imaginative. Whereas the driver, they're all about challenge. They're very logical, very quantitative, very get-it-done types. The 2 other patterns are the guardians, who are all about stability. They want order, they want method, they want process. And then the integrators, who are more about connection between ideas, between people, very relationship-oriented, very empathic. So what the data shows you is that normally you'd see equal distributions across those 4, but with the C-suite, you see a skewing towards that pioneer and that driver pattern and less of those guardians and integrators.
Okay, and so Deloitte also asked people classified as pioneers and drivers to describe themselves, and we have the results on the screen. They say they see themselves primarily as leaders.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because to be in the C-suite, you need a few things, right? You obviously have to be capable of doing the job, but you also have to want the job. And so what this data tells you is that pioneers and drivers are actually the most likely to want to be leaders, to aspire to it. If you look at a guardian, for example, which is less represented, they most aspire to be experts. It's a different kind of leadership.
Okay, and the other 2 are guardians and integrators, as you said earlier. What kinds of leadership qualities go a little more in depth on that?
Yeah, so if you think about what it takes to get something done, you need those people with the big ideas, you need the person who's going to be logical and challenged, that's that pioneer driver, but you also need the person who's going to go through all the details, make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, get it done. That's your guardian, and they're going to make sure that you've considered the past, that you're thinking about risk, that you're considering all the aspects of what it takes. The integrator, meanwhile, is making sure that you get the people involved, because you know if you don't have the whole team involved, you're not going to be able to make the journey together. So they're the ones who are actually thinking about the implications for individuals, really trying to relate to others and make it happen that way.
Okay, and you had some insights on business chemistry and leadership.
So an interesting finding here, even though 2/3 of this population was pioneers and drivers, all of these executives have certain things in common that are different from the rest of the business population. They're all more big picture thinkers, they're all more comfortable with ambiguity, they're all quick to make decisions, and they all don't mind making unpopular decisions, which makes sense. These roles require that kind of thing. What's interesting, though, is that they are not other things that you might expect. They are not more disciplined. They're not more likely to seek out new ideas. They're not more likely to build a social network. So in some ways, these C-suite roles are very different from the average business population, and yet they're not.
They're not more disciplined.
Interesting, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big picture thinkers that don't worry about the popularity of those decisions, they're still successful.
Well, we've seen some examples of executives that were not successful taking that path. But, you know, a lot of it comes down to the fact that you can't please everybody all the time. These roles often require fast decisions, and some of the types are very concerned about upsetting others, and that can slow down decision making. And so I think it's a trade-off. You know, you want to make the right decision, but you have a certain period of time to do it in.
And you have to believe in yourself and your strategy.
You have to believe in yourself and your strategy. And there's an aspect of culture to this too. I mean, certain companies are very tolerant of that kind of attitude and others aren't. And that's another selection criteria in terms of who ends up in that corner office.
All right, Kim, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.